and a love that is not held back by the tomb or by fear or by the grave. I'm reminded in this of a story that was told me about a little priest. And by little, I mean that exactly. I mean, he was a little priest. He was a small man named Father Richardson, who was at St. George's Church in New Orleans. Now, the story also starts, there was a young man who left his father and ran off to New Orleans. And got involved with some dangerous and unsavory folks, delving into a life of drug use, and had disappeared. The desperate father hired a private detective who located the son. But that's all he would do. Told the father this, and the father was very distressed, and so the father came down to New Orleans. And he stopped in at a church on St. Charles Avenue called St. George's, where, lo and behold, the little priest was there. He was so upset and he wanted to unburden himself with the priest, and I don't know what to do. My sweet son, my beloved son, he's somewhere in some terrible crack house here in New Orleans, and I don't know what to do. Father Richardson, if you knew Father Richardson, you would know this when you know it's totally true, said, well, get in the car. Let's go pick him up. Okay. Now, I want you to bear in mind that Father Richardson was a man who was about 5 feet tall. He was a very small man, a very small stature, and probably, I'm not sure the man weighed 100 pounds. And that's his whole life. And I know this for a fact of how small he was, because I did prepare his body for burial, so I know just how small he was. But Father Richardson was a very loving man. So they drove into the darkest, nastiest part of New Orleans, as you can imagine, and parked in front of the house, or the address they had from the private detective. Well, the father was a little leery at this point because he maybe understood why the detective didn't want to go in there. He said, I don't know, that looks pretty awful. And Father Richardson looked at him and said, well, do you love your son? Let's go. So he hopped out of the car and ran up to the door. He knocked. I mean, I'm just thinking about this visual here. And of course, somebody stumbled to the door and opened it. And in they went and retrieved the son. And he returned home with his father. Do you love your son? Do you love your son? And just to think about that, how much we are loved. Do I love my children? Does God love his children? To go to darkest Gethsemane and to be afraid, fearful of what might happen, to face recriminations and reproach, to be hit, to be slapped, to be hurt, to die. But I love my children. He loves us. And on that Sunday morning, when a sad little group of women come to prepare a body that was too hastily shoved into a rock tomb, and the door has burst open. Do you love your children? Yes, I do. Yes, he does. Now the story, we know it. And yet sometimes I think we forget just how remarkable it is. I mean, who does that? Lay down your life for your friends? To put yourself in danger? Well, I guess the question is, have you ever been in love? There are a lot of things that you do for love. And that's what he does for us. He loves us. And that's what love does. Love drives you down to the lower ninth ward. And love drives you in to retrieve your child from the very brink. And love drives you to hang on a cross and die. But then this is where it gets really cool. But the love doesn't end. The love won't stop until that love stretches those arms all the way across this world to heaven, to earth, in the past, in the future, and it's reaching out. That love that is reaching out towards you and towards me, and it won't stop. It is relentless. Perhaps at times, maybe there was fear in it. But when you love someone, you love them and you go to the very end. That's what he does. Because we're who he loves. Oh, to think about that. To think about that we're his creation, his children, his beloved. Well, that's good news indeed. That's good news, and that love is reaching out. Bursting from the tomb and walking. Reaching out to you and reaching out to me. And reaching out through you and through me. Until that love reaches every heart, every soul, that every person on this blue ball floating in space knows that they are beloved too. And that a Father's love will not stop and will not end.